time on Beyond Stardom, a handful of overachievers who show no signs of running out of steam. Both of this rock star's parents died of cancer within months of each other in 1987. Sting justified his decision not to attend either of their funerals by stating that the media fuss would have been disrespectful to his mum and dad. He saved his personal tributes for his 2003 autobiography, Broken Music.
It's a very personal story. It's a very candid story about me as a child, me growing up, me becoming a man. It's not really a book about being successful. It's not really a book about fame or making lots of money or playing in huge arenas. It's a book about a boy becoming a man. And it's about my parents. It's about their rather tragic love story.
But then it would be impossible to cover all sides of the Sting story in the one book. Since his birth in England's Newcastle upon Tyne in 1951, he's certainly been packing it in. Starting out life as plain old Gordon Sumner, he took on jobs as a bus conductor, construction labourer and tax officer before finding his way into teaching for 2 years. Playing in bands at night and on the weekends, he picked up his nickname after walking on stage in a black and yellow sweater. One of his bandmates remarked on his resemblance to a bumblebee. Since then, even his family have called him Sting. After pumping out 5 chart-topping albums and winning 6 Grammy Awards, as the songwriter and frontman of The Police, he started to make his name as a solo performer and passionate environmentalist. In 1989, he and his partner Trudy Styler set up the Rainforest Foudation, which not only dedicated itself to preserving the forests themselves, but also to protecting the rights of the indigenous peoples living there. On a fundraising concert tour of Australia in 2005, he proved he was still true to the cause.
I'm committed to longevity of this idea, and staying with things, staying with the project for a long time, more than just a few months. I think, Judy and I proved that we're in for the long run with the Rainforest Foundation. We've been with that thing for 15 years now. I think that's what it takes. You need to just stay there, and it's boring, but you have to do the work.
In this case, doing the work meant pulling in a whopping $3 million for the victims of the Asian tsunami. And Sting used the opportunity to raise awareness of the power of nature and our responsibility towards the planet.
Unusually for a disaster, this one isn't man-made. This was the planet evolving. And so it does sort of bring us together, because I personally think we're in more danger from the environment than we are from Al-Qaeda, for example. As serious as they are, it's nothing compared with what the devastation we're wreaking on the planet. This is going to get worse.
As well as joining forces to save the planet, Sting and Trudy have also had 4 children together. In 2006, they extended their partnership even further to take on joint producer credits on a feature film called A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints, starring Robert Downey Jr. While Trudy is a seasoned film producer, it was an exciting first for Sting.
I think it's a very good film. I like to see my name with that executive producer title. Never had that before, so it's a new experience for me. It's exciting. The film is done critically well. It did very well in Sundance. It won 2 prizes. The feedback here in Venice has been very, very positive. So I'm very proud to be involved.
Another opportunity he jumped at was the chance to write music for the 2003 film Cold Mountain.
I read the book a few years ago, and I loved the book so much that when I heard tell there was a movie being made, I kind of made myself busy. And here I am.
He ended up scoring an Academy Award nomination for the song You Will Be My Ain True Love, sung by Alison Krauss in the movie. Not that the prospect of winning awards holds much sway with a songwriter who has already netted 16 Grammys over the course of his 35-year career. And with an English estate, 2 London homes, an apartment in New York, a beach house in Malibu, and acreage in Tuscany, his recent decision to go back out on tour with the Police certainly wasn't motivated by money.
I say music is its own reward. Music will nourish you whether you're playing to the cat or 20,000 people.
It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you're playing music. Whether you make it or not shouldn't really matter.
This goddess of pop has reportedly transformed the $12 million house next door to her London mansion into a private fitness centre. There have also been rumours that Madonna has been investing in a little personal renovation after being seen sporting large sunglasses to hide bruises around her eyes. But then she can afford it. In 2006 alone, Forbes magazine put her income at an incredible $72 million US. And with a personal fortune somewhere in excess of $400 million, it's no wonder she's never quite been able to shake the material girl moniker. She's also been labelled the Queen of Reinvention, thanks to her incredible talent for surfing new trends and constantly revamping her image. More than any popular artist before her, she's displayed a unique ability to extract every last drop of money-making potential from one bandwagon before making a timely leap onto the next one. Over the years, one thing that hasn't changed is her fondness for blatant publicity stunts. In 2005, at the age of 48, she embarked on a world tour to promote her new disco album, Confessions on the Dance Floor. The Confessions concert opened with Madonna wearing a crown of thorns splayed on a crucifix encrusted with mirrors. The Vatican had an apoplectic fit, and protests in Russia ahead of her Moscow concert ensured that ticket sales went through the roof. When quizzed about the content behind the controversy, Madonna was totally candid.
I mean, my entire show is a publicity stunt, let's face it. I'm putting on a show to sell my record, to make my points, and I knew it would be provocative. I mean, I had a crucifix that was covered in mirror ball. I mean, the disco ball, like.
The tour alone raked in nearly $200 million from just 60 shows, and the album ended up selling 8 million copies and spawning 4 #1 hits. And refusing to let it go at that, she succeeded in optimizing her saturation of the marketplace with the well-timed release of a new documentary about her life called I'm Gonna Tell You a Secret. Some critics suggested that there could be few secrets left in the closet of a publicity junkie who had lived most of her adult life in the public eye. However, Madonna insisted that the new film was more than just a rehash of the 1991 doco Truth or Dare.
Well, I'm different. I mean, a lot's happened to me between that film and this film, so I've changed. My views in life have changed. Hopefully I've grown up, evolved. I have a family, I have children. And I don't know, I hope that the movie is a reflection of that evolution.
The film is about everything that she thinks is important in life right now, and it's a lot of spirituality, and it's a lot about creativity, and it's a lot about her thoughts and where she is today as a grown woman.
Of course, where Madonna is today could be miles away from where she is tomorrow. The workaholic who admits to sleeping with her BlackBerry under her pillow always has her fingers in a bewildering number of pies. As well as playing wife to Guy Ritchie and mother to Lords, Rocco and the recently adopted David Banda, the Cavalier devotee recently fulfilled her ambition to direct a film. Most of the reviews of Filth and Wisdom, which she also co-wrote, were reminiscent of the scathing notices normally reserved for her acting, with one critic recommending that she hang on to her day job. Having developed a thick skin to bad reviews and Razzie Awards, she was delighted to sign up to voice the animated character of Princess Selenia in Arthur and the Invisibles, which gave her the opportunity to rub shoulders with another pop chameleon.
I mean, first of all, I've been a huge fan of David Bowie's since I was a teenager and I saw him in concert. So it was really cool that I got to be in some scenes with him and have conversations with him. I don't know, I liked it. I thought the dialogue between us was very clever.
And at a special screening of the film, she hinted that she may finally be thinking about cutting back on her commitments.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be working all the time. I want to have time for my family. So that always comes into the equation when I'm making a decision about work.
But with a new album on the shelves, a new career in producing to pursue, a rumoured children's school to build, and a state-of-the-art gym to design, it doesn't look like she'll be hanging up her BlackBerry anytime soon. In his recent autobiography, this openly gay actor confessed to having an affair with Lord of the Rings star Ian McKellen. In the same memoirs, Rupert Everett also wrote about his fling with Susan Sarandon and admitted that his heterosexual relationships baffled him. One love affair that he never got over was his obsession with Julie Andrews, which began at his local cinema after seeing Mary Poppins as a child. He later realised a lifelong dream when he got to appear with his idol in the film Duet for One, about the life of cellist Jacqueline du Pré. More recently, he had the opportunity to share the microphone with her in the blockbuster animated franchise Shrek, where he gets to play Prince Charming to Julie's Queen Lillian. Tipped for the top after his teenage debut in Another Country, the upper-class twerp from Essex in England made it all the way to the top in 1997, when he starred opposite Julia Roberts in the smash hit My Best Friend's Wedding. 3 years later, he was dumped from a great height upon teaming up with Madonna to make The Next Best Thing. He blamed his subsequent lack of Hollywood offers on his open homosexuality and claimed he could have had Hugh Grant's career if he'd only stayed in the closet. But in 2002, his sexuality was no barrier to playing the duplicitous Algernon in Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest. Being back home amongst friends seemed to perk him up a little.
It's one of those films where we did really have a nice time on the set. It was a beautiful English summer. A lot of us had known each other for quite a long time, and those of us that didn't know each other, we all got on very, very well. And no, it was a lot of fun. We had a good laugh, and I think that comes across on the screen in a way, that a lot of the relationships are very defined in the right way, and that's because, you know, a lot of us knew each other.
The film allowed Rupes to bury the hatchet with co-star Colin Firth. The pair had first worked together in 1983 in the movie version of Another Country and hadn't quite seen eye to eye.
We got on pretty badly the first time and then didn't really see each other for about 18 years. But even that history, I thought, was quite reassuring.
Yes, no, exactly.
Enough, we met again after 18 years.
However, by the time they were paired up yet again in the 2007 romp St. Trinians, they were finishing each other's sentences.
We met again after 18 years. Even the idea that we first met when we were neurotic and suspicious was, you know, we just knew how much time had gone by since then.
And managing actually to make it in this business anyway for 18 years, it gives you a kind of camaraderie.
Well, that's it, actually, seeing a fellow survivor, if you like. Because I think you get to an age where it's not so much about, you know, your ambitions anymore. It's just about
keeping going,
still being there. Yeah.
The Oliver Parker remake of the 1950s English comedy about a riotous girls' school called for Rupert to dress up in drag as the school's headmistress, Camilla Fritton. His inspiration for the role may or may not have been drawn from Britain's future First Lady, Camilla Parker Bowles.
She's definitely someone who I admire very much, and I did have a nice kind of blonde, you know, look that was somewhat inspired by her.
For Colin, seeing Rupert in character was something of a shock.
It was a big reaction, I think. I mean, I joined the film about a week or two in, so everyone else had got over their reaction, so I was sort of, my jaw was still dropping from how effective it was, I think, because you can easily...
It's really come back up, that jaw, has it?
Maybe you can give me the name of somebody in your personal
reliable search.
Having survived drug abuse, near bankruptcy and a yo-yoing career, Rupert is now stringing together a pretty consistent stream of acting jobs. Over the past 3 years, he has appeared in 5 movies and lent his voice to 3. He's also been getting out and about on the red carpet. In July 2007, he was invited to an A-list extravaganza in Milan to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the murder of his good friend Gianni Versace. A year later, he was looking buffed and bronzed as he led off the parade at Sydney's Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras. This former child star is able to dub herself in the French language version of her films, thanks to her impressive command of the lingo. Jodie Foster attended a French-speaking prep school in Los Angeles and graduated top of the class before going to work in France as a teenager. Having starred in a swag of Disney films and earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress in Martin Scorceses Taxi Driver, she took a break from acting to study literature at Yale University. But Jodie's attempts to lay low were foiled by the attentions of a stalker, John Hinckley. He followed her to the university and started writing her letters. Several months later, after he shot and wounded President Reagan, investigations led to Jodie's door, and she was forced to answer questions about a possible involvement with Hinckley.
Due to my profession as an actress, I've often been contacted by strangers. I discourage all strangers from calling or visiting me. I receive a great deal of unsolicited mail, but I seldom read it. I've never met, spoken to, or in any way associated with one John W. Hinckley. Last fall, I received several pieces of unsolicited correspondence signed John W. Hinckley or JWH, and I threw them all away. In none of these letters and notes I received was any mention, reference, or implication ever made as to violent acts against anyone, nor was the president ever mentioned. I've cooperated fully with the FBI, the Secret Service, and the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I will continue to do so.
Despite such traumatic distraction, Jodie went on to graduate from Yale University with distinction. However, ever since then, she has been fiercely protective of her private life. She has consistently refused to comment on rumors about her sexual orientation, although during an acceptance speech in December 2007, she finally acknowledged her lesbian partner of 14 years, Sydney Bernard. Bringing up 2 children has kept her very busy over the past 10 years, but she's still managed to squeeze in at least 1 movie a year. In 2002, as well as stepping in for the injured Nicole Kidman to star in Panic Room, she took on her first role as a baddie, playing a cantankerous nun in The Dangerous Lives of Altar Boys. Starring alongside talented youngsters like Kieran Culkin and Emile Hirsch, brought back memories of her own early days in acting.
Yeah, it does remind me of when I was a kid. You know, it reminds that vulnerability that they have. They're so open to you and they're affectionate and they want to do right by you, you know. So there's a way that you really have to pay attention to how you treat them, I think. And I do have memories of good and bad memories of being a child actor, so I try to avoid the bad ones and really help the kid feel good and safe and happy about the experience.
In the 2006 thriller Flight Plan, she played a grieving widow whose young daughter goes missing on a plane flight from Berlin to New York. Still managing to cling on to her leading woman status, she certainly isn't taking anything for granted.
You know, I'm 42, so no, I don't get everything I want, and I don't get everything that's out there, and it is a dramatic difference being over 40 now, and there's a lot less scripts. You know, it's normal. Most stories are for people that are in their 30s or in their late 20s, so it's normal that it's getting less scripts out there.
And despite being in the business for 40 years, she still has some ambitions.
I would love to do more comedies. But I really would, because honestly, I'm a very light person. I'm not a very dark person. But nobody really, I'm not sure anybody really wants me to do comedies. Yeah, and not very many people ask me to. So I don't know about romantic comedies. I mean, sometimes that has kind of a funny connotation to me. I don't really know what a romantic comedy is, but I definitely would like to do more comedy. So if you have any ideas, you can all send them in.
Obviously, someone was listening, because just a year later, Jodie accepted the part of reclusive writer Alexandra Rover in the children's film Nim's Island, alongside Abigail Breslin. This vegetarian comedian is an avid collector of modern art. Steve Martin owns works by Picasso, Hockney, Lichtenstein, and O'Keeffe, and is a trustee of the Los Angeles Museum of Art. The multifaceted funny man is also an accomplished banjo player and likes to play guitar and sing. In the late 60s, he landed sketch writing jobs on shows like the Glenn Campbell Good Time Hour and the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. Frequent appearances on Saturday Night Live, along with the first of 3 comedy albums, helped make him an international star. Then it was on to the movies, where his breakthrough came with the rags to riches comedy he wrote and starred in, The Jerk. Throughout the 80s, he was all over the big screen like a rash, with comedies like The Man with Two Brains, All of Me, Little Shop of Horrors, and Planes, Trains and Automobiles. In 1988, he got to work with Michael Caine in the Frank Oz comedy Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
When I think back of all the movies I've made, I describe Dirty Rotten Scoundrels as the most fun I ever had on a movie between Frank Oz and Glenn Headley and Michael Caine. And he's a great, raconteur. He loves life. He's always happy. He doesn't like yelling. He's a good guy.
But by the 90s, he started to branch out again, signing on as executive producer of LA Story, writing pieces for The New Yorker, playing banjo for Earl Scruggs, and appearing in plays. In 1993, he even wrote his own play, Picasso at the Lapin Agile. In recent years, he's found a worthy sidekick in fellow writer and actor Eugene Levy, who first appeared with Steve in 1995's Father of the Bride Part 2. By the time they teamed up again for Bringing Down the House in 2003, they had really developed an on-set rapport.
There are a few things in the movie, kind of like little routines that we worked out, which I had a great time working on with Steve. I mean, the fact that here's a guy that I've, idolized for, a long time, and now I'm actually getting a chance to work out comedy bits with him. I mean, I got a big kick out of that. I mean, it was a real highlight.
Bringing Down the House, in which Steve plays a divorced tax attorney, called for a big dance scene, which ended up winning him a nomination for Best Movie Dance at the MTV Movie Awards. Having taken an intensive course in tap dancing before starring in the 90s musical Pennies from Heaven, he was no stranger to the old 5, 6, 7, 8.
I liked dancing in this because there was no rehearsal, or very little. Just went out there, and the idea was I really didn't know how to dance, so I got to just flip myself around and just kind of have fun doing it.
2 years later, he was breaking barriers again by adapting his own novella for the big screen. Shop Girl, in which he starred opposite Claire Danes, brought out a side of Steve that is rarely seen on film.
I mean, we think of him as so funny, and he is. He's an exceptional comic, a virtuosic comic, but there's something really tender and earnest and sensitive about him, too, that is really resonant and like, at play in this movie. So.
But a year later, it was back to the madcap comedy and manic mugging to reprise the role immortalized by Peter Sellers in The Pink Panther. While the critics gave the remake the thumbs down, box office receipts in excess of $140 million worldwide were enough to guarantee that his incarnation of the chaotic Clouseau would not be forced into early retirement.